What if the myths of an ancient civilization held clues to a secret buried not on Earth, but on the moon? The Aztecs, a people known for their towering temples and intricate understanding of the cosmos, left behind stories so bizarre they defy conventional explanation. Their legends speak of gods descending from the sky, celestial battles fought among the stars, and a mysterious lunar presence that seems almost artificial. Could these tales be more than just myths? Could they be fragments of forgotten history, hints of a hidden colony on the moon, waiting to be uncovered? Think about it. Across cultures, ancient myths often encode astonishingly accurate astronomical knowledge. The Aztecs worshipped Coyolxauhqui, the moon goddess, whose dismembered body was said to have been scattered across the night sky. But what if this gruesome imagery isn't just symbolic? What if it's a coded message about something or someone shattered on the lunar surface? The Aztecs charted celestial cycles with precision, built pyramids aligned to cosmic events, and told stories of otherworldly visitors. Why were they simply imagining, or were they preserving something far more extraordinary? This isn't just about connecting dots, it's about peeling back layers of time to question what we think we know. What if the moon, that silent companion in our sky, harbors secrets older than recorded history? What if the Aztecs, like other ancient cultures, were trying to tell us something their words alone couldn't convey? Stick with me as we unravel these eerie parallels, decode the symbolism hidden in plain sight, and ask the daring question: could the moon have been home to something or someone long before we ever set foot there? The answers might change how you see the night sky forever. The Aztec universe was far more than a collection of myths. It was a living, breathing cosmos where gods and celestial forces shaped existence itself. At the heart of their cosmology lay the belief in a universe constantly in flux, cycling through creation and destruction. The Aztecs saw time not as a straight line but as repeating eras or suns, each ending in catastrophe before rebirth. And towering over this cosmic drama were deities like Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent of wisdom, and Tezcatlipoca, the smoking mirror whose tricks could unravel worlds. These weren't just gods, they were cosmic architects weaving destiny among the stars. Take Quetzalcoatl, for example. Far more than a god of wind, he was the bringer of knowledge, the patron of priests and learning, often linked to the planet Venus. His rival, Tezcatlipoca, embodied chaos and change, his name meaning smoking mirror, a reference to obsidian, the volcanic glass used for divination. Their eternal struggle mirrored the Aztec understanding of balance. Creation required destruction, order demanded chaos, but here's where it gets fascinating. Their battles weren't just earthly, they played out in the heavens. Tezcatlipoca was said to strike down Quetzalcoatl's celestial counterpart, the morning star, in a cycle mirroring Venus's disappearance and reappearance in the night sky. Then there's the sun god Huitzilopochtli, whose birth was as violent as it was miraculous. According to legend, he sprang fully armed from his mother Coyolxauhqui's womb to slay his sister Coyolxauhqui, the moon goddess, hurling her body into the sky where it shattered into fragments, a tale eerily reminiscent of cosmic collisions. The Aztecs didn't just worship these gods, they reenacted their stories through rituals, aligning their temples to celestial events like solstices and equinoxes. The Templo Maya in Tenochtitlan wasn't just a religious site, it was a map of the cosmos with its twin shrines to Huitzilopochtli and Tlaloc, the rain god, mirroring the duality of sun and storm. What's striking is how deeply astronomy shaped their worldview. The Aztec calendar wasn't just a tool for tracking days, it encoded celestial knowledge with the famous sun stone depicting not only time but cosmic cycles. Their myths spoke of the moon as a place of mystery, of Venus as a wandering warrior, of the Milky Way as the skeletal goddess Xtzalniku, her starry spine arching across the night. These weren't random stories, they were a sophisticated language, a way to encode observations of the heavens, or perhaps whispers of something even older. When the Aztecs gazed at the moon, did they see just a celestial body, or did they remember? The moon wasn't just a silent orb in the Aztec sky, it pulsed with life, power, and often violence. Known as Metzli, it was a realm of contradictions, a symbol of fertility and agriculture, yet also a battleground for celestial wars. At the center of this duality stood Coyolxauhqui, the moon goddess whose tragic fate was etched into Aztec mythology. Her story wasn't merely a tale of sibling rivalry, it was a cosmic blueprint. According to legend, when her mother Coyolxauhqui miraculously conceived the sun god Huitzilopochtli, Coyolxauhqui rallied her 400 star brothers to murder their mother for the shame of it. But Huitzilopochtli, bursting forth fully armed from the womb, slaughtered his sister and hurled her dismembered body into the sky, where it became the moon, a haunting allegory that might hide deeper truths. Why would a civilization so precise in its astronomy craft such a visceral myth? The Aztecs didn't just see the moon's pockmarked surface, they saw scars. The craters and shadows weren't random, they were the fragments of Coyolxauhqui's shattered body, a celestial crime scene frozen in time. This wasn't poetic whimsy. Their rituals mirrored this violence. During the feast of Quetzalcoatl, priests reenacted Huitzilopochtli's victory by decapitating effigies and rolling them down temple steps, symbolizing the moon's fall. The Templo Mayor itself was designed as a microcosm of this battle, with its twin staircases representing the sacred mountain where the myth unfolded. Every architectural detail, every sacrificial ceremony tied back to the moon's fractured state, but the moon's influence extended far beyond mythology. The Aztec calendar, a masterpiece of Mesoamerican science, was governed by lunar cycles. Their 18-month ceremonial year hinged on Metzli's phases, with festivals timed to its waxing and waning. The 20-day months weren't arbitrary. They reflected a convergence of lunar and solar rhythms, a harmony between earthly time and celestial motion. Even their dreaded 52-year cycle, when the world trembled at the threat of apocalyptic collapse, was tied to the moon's alignment with the Pleiades. If the stars failed to cross a certain point in the night sky, it signaled the end of an era, a belief rooted in the moon's role as a cosmic clock. What's striking is how the Aztecs encoded practical knowledge into these stories. The moon wasn't just a deity, it was a navigational tool. Farmers relied on its phases to plant crops, while traders used its light for nocturnal journeys across treacherous landscapes. The Codex Mendoza even depicts moon-shaped glyphs marking territories, suggesting it served as a territorial beacon. And then there's the eerie resemblance between Coyolxauhqui's dismemberment and modern theories of the moon's formation. Scientists now believe the moon was born from a cataclysmic collision between Earth and a Mars-sized body, a violent birth mirroring the Aztec myth. Coincidence? Or could their legends preserve ancestral memories of celestial events? The deeper you dig, the more the moon's symbolism blurs the line between myth and memory. In Aztec art, Metzli often appears with a rabbit, a nod to the lunar seas that resemble a leaping hare, a motif shared by cultures as distant as China and India. This global thread raises chilling questions. Why did ancient civilizations separated by oceans see the same patterns? Was it collective imagination, or were they describing something or someone that once made the moon its home? The Aztecs may have left us more than just stories. They may have left a map written in the language of gods and sky. Among the most puzzling Aztec myths is the story of Tezcatlipoca, the moon god who hesitated. According to legend, when the gods gathered at Teotihuacan to sacrifice themselves and create the fifth sun, Nanahuatzin, a humble deity covered in boils, leaped bravely into the sacred fire. But Tezcatlipoca, adorned in finery, faltered 4 times before finally jumping, only to emerge as the moon, forever dimmer than the sun, as punishment for his cowardice. At first glance, it's a moral tale about courage, but look closer. The myth describes the moon as a second sun that failed to shine as brightly, a detail that mirrors modern theories of lunar formation. Scientists speculate the moon once glowed molten, its surface radiating heat like a sun before cooling into the pale reflection we see today. Could this myth preserve an ancient memory of the moon's fiery infancy? Then there's the curious case of the smoking stars. Aztec codices depict meteors and comets as celestial serpents breathing fire across the night sky, events they interpreted as omens, but also as battles between cosmic forces. One account describes a great war in the heavens where the stars themselves clashed, leaving the moon scarred and pocked like a warrior's shield. The Aztecs had no telescopes, yet their descriptions eerily match the moon's cratered surface. Even stranger, some glyphs show the moon with odd, geometric markings resembling structures, lines too straight, angles too precise to be natural formations. Were these artistic liberties or attempts to depict something they'd witnessed? Consider the Festival of the New Fire, held every 52 years when the Aztecs feared the sun might vanish forever. Priests would extinguish all fires, then ignite a new flame on a captive's chest, symbolizing the sun's rebirth. But the ritual didn't just honor the sun, it involved careful lunar observation. The ceremony only proceeded if the Pleiades crossed a specific point in the sky at midnight, a synchronization of lunar and stellar cycles. This precision suggests the Aztecs didn't just revere the moon, they studied it, tracking its movements with an almost scientific rigor. Their myths may have been observational logs disguised as drama, a way to encode celestial mechanics in stories that could survive generations. Perhaps most haunting is the legend of Tezcatlipoca, the skeletal star demons who lurked in the darkness between stars, waiting to devour the sun during eclipses. The Aztecs believed these entities descended from the moon's shadow, a notion that aligns uncannily with modern astronomy. During a lunar eclipse, Earth's shadow does indeed crawl across the moon's face like a hungry mouth. Without understanding orbital mechanics, how did they conceptualize this so accurately? And why did they describe the moon's surface as the place where time collects, a phrase that evokes its tidal lock? The same face eternally turned toward Earth as if frozen in time. These myths aren't isolated quirks. They form a pattern, a lexicon of lunar anomalies that defy simple explanation. The Aztecs didn't just worship the moon, they treated it as a participant in cosmic events, a character with agency and history. Their stories speak of lunar wounds, of battles that shattered the sky, of a celestial body that was once something else entirely. In a world without satellites or probes, how did they imagine such specifics? Unless, of course, they weren't imagining at all. The legend of Coyolxauhqui isn't just another tale of divine family drama, it's a celestial murder mystery written in myth. Picture this, the moon goddess, adorned with golden bells and radiating otherworldly power, leads her 400 star brothers in a vengeful march toward their pregnant mother, Quetzalcoatl. Enraged by the shame of her unexplained pregnancy, they intend to kill her. But before the fatal blow lands, the unborn child, Huitzilopochtli, erupts from the womb fully armed, decapitates his sister, and hurls her body down the sacred mountain, where it shatters across the sky to form the moon. The brutality of this story feels excessive for a simple morality tale. Could there be something darker hidden beneath its surface, a cosmic secret cloaked in symbolism? What if Coyolxauhqui's dismemberment isn't just metaphorical? The Aztecs depicted her decapitated head with its eyes closed, mouth agape, not in serenity but in frozen horror. Her limbs are scattered, each fragment a jagged, unnatural shape. Modern lunar maps reveal something chilling. The moon's surface is dominated by the Imbrium Basin, a colossal impact crater surrounded by radial fractures that eerily resemble the shattered limbs in Aztec art. Coincidence, or could this myth encode an ancient memory of a cataclysmic lunar collision? Science confirms the moon was bombarded by massive asteroids billions of years ago, leaving scars that match the violent imagery of Coyolxauhqui's fate. The Aztecs had no way of knowing this unless their ancestors witnessed it firsthand. Then there's the eerie detail of the 400 star brothers. In Aztec cosmology, 400 was code for uncountable, a number representing the infinite. But here's the twist: the Milky Way, visible on clear nights, contains roughly that many visible stars in its brightest band. Could the myth be describing an interstellar battle, a war not just between gods but between celestial forces? The Codex Florentine describes Coyolxauhqui's remains as scattered light, a phrase that takes on new meaning when you consider how the moon reflects sunlight in broken fragments across its cratered plains. The ritual reenactments deepen the mystery. At the Templo Maya, priests would roll decapitated effigies down the pyramid steps, mirroring Coyolxauhqui's fall. These weren't arbitrary performances, they were precise replicas of cosmic violence, down to the timing. The ceremonies coincided with lunar eclipses, when Earth's shadow crept across the moon like a slow-motion replay of her disintegration. The Aztecs even buried offerings of starfish beneath the temple, their radial arms mimicking the goddess's fragmented body. Every element of this myth was engineered to echo the moon's most haunting features. But the most compelling clue lies in Coyolxauhqui's name itself. Translated, it means golden bells, a reference to the metal ornaments she wore. Recent lunar probes have detected traces of gold and other precious metals in the moon's crust, elements far more abundant there than on Earth. If the moon was once part of our planet, as the giant impact hypothesis suggests, why would it hold disproportionate mineral wealth, unless, of course, it wasn't always barren? Could the golden bells be a coded reference to lunar resources or even artificial structures? The Aztecs believed their gods arrived from the sky, bearing gifts of knowledge. What if those gifts weren't divine but technological? The deeper you examine this myth, the more it resembles a cautionary tale, not about sibling rivalry, but about a lost lunar civilization. Coyolxauhqui's shattered form might symbolize more than just the moon's scars. It could be a warning, a record of something, or someone that once thrived there, only to be obliterated in a conflict so ancient, only the bones of the story remain. Quetzalcoatl's departure from Earth is one of the most enigmatic episodes in Aztec mythology, a moment where legend blurs with something far more extraordinary. The feathered serpent god, revered as the bringer of knowledge, civilization, and the sacred calendar, didn't simply fade into obscurity. According to the Codex Tezcatlipoca, he built a raft of serpents, adorned himself in turquoise mosaic, and set sail across the eastern sea, only to vanish into the sky, vowing one day to return. But here's what's startling: the details of his journey don't sound like poetic allegory. They read like technical instructions. Take the raft of serpents. Ancient astronaut theorists have long speculated this could describe a spacecraft's serpents coiled like fuel lines or propulsion systems, their undulating bodies mirroring the twisting exhaust of a rocket. The turquoise mosaic, some suggest it resembles the reflective tiles used on modern shuttles to deflect heat. Even the direction of his departure east, where the sun rises, aligns with orbital mechanics. Space launches optimize fuel efficiency by launching eastward, harnessing Earth's rotation for momentum. How would a pre-industrial culture know this? Then there's the promise of return. Quetzalcoatl's myth insists his departure wasn't an end, but an intermission. He would come back, the stories say, in a year of Reed, a cyclical date in the Aztec calendar. This echoes eerily with the concept of orbital cycles, celestial bodies reappearing after precise intervals. The Maya, neighbors and cultural cousins of the Aztecs, even depicted Quetzalcoatl, or Cuculcan, as they called him, as a being who descended from the sky in a serpent rope, a description that sounds uncomfortably close to a spacecraft's tether or landing apparatus. But the most compelling clue lies in what Quetzalcoatl left behind. He gifted humanity with maize, mathematics, and metallurgy advancements that catapulted Mesoamerican societies forward. Why would a god need to teach agriculture unless his knowledge came from elsewhere? Modern astronauts, after all, carry experimental seeds to test growth in microgravity. Could maize have been an extraterrestrial hybrid engineered for Earth's climate? The Florentine Codex describes Quetzalcoatl's tools as not of this world, objects that glowed without fire. Obsidian blades, the Aztec's sharpest cutting instruments, pale in comparison to legends of his mirrors that cut mountains, a phrase that could describe lasers or advanced energy tools. Perhaps most telling is Quetzalcoatl's conflict with Tezcatlipoca, his shadowy rival who allegedly drove him away using a smoking mirror. Scholars interpret this as a metaphor for deception, but consider the literal alternative: smoke obscuring vision, mirrors reflecting light. Could this describe some form of optical interference or even a smokescreen to mask a launch? The Popol Vuh, a Kayich Maya text, adds another layer describing celestial beings who measured the sky and knew the paths of the stars. Quetzalcoatl wasn't just a god. He was a navigator. The Aztecs weren't just storytellers, they were meticulous observers. When they recorded Quetzalcoatl's ascent as a great wind tearing the clouds, they might have been documenting the visible shockwaves of a craft breaking the sound barrier. Their art shows him not with angelic wings, but with intricate feathered appendages resembling stabilizer fins. Even his association with Venus, the planet appearing as both morning and evening star, fits a narrative of something moving between celestial points, a traveler shuttling between worlds. So was Quetzalcoatl a myth or a memory, a deity or a visitor whose technology became legend? The answer might lie in the stars themselves. The Aztecs didn't just watch the sky. They seems to have remembered it. Tezcatlipoca's obsidian mirror wasn't just a religious symbol, it was a window into the unknown, known as Itlaxoyotl, meaning the place from which he watches. This polished black surface held a power that terrified even the Aztecs. They believed it could reveal hidden truths, summon spirits, and even peer into other worlds. But what if this mirror was more than a mystical artifact? What if it was a misunderstood piece of technology, a relic of something far older and more advanced? Obsidian, the volcanic glass used to craft the mirror, has properties that defy its ancient origins. When polished to perfection, it becomes one of nature's most reflective surfaces, capable of producing images sharper than any bronze or silver mirror of the time. The Aztecs claimed Tezcatlipoca used it to observe distant events in real time, a concept uncomfortably close to modern surveillance or even satellite imagery. Some legends describe the mirror as a hole in the sky, suggesting it didn't just reflect, it transmitted. Could this be a fragmented memory of a device that accessed orbital or lunar vantage points? The lunar connection runs deeper. Tezcatlipoca was often depicted with one foot replaced by a smoking mirror, a symbol of his otherworldly nature. In Aztec art, this mirror sometimes floats above his head, emitting swirls of smoke or light, an uncanny resemblance to the moon's halo during certain atmospheric conditions. Even his name, Smoking Mirror, evokes the hazy glow of Earth's shadow on the lunar surface during an eclipse. Was this deity's iconography an attempt to encode celestial phenomena? Or was the mirror meant to represent something physically present on the moon, a structure, a beacon, or a doorway? Consider how the mirror was used in rituals. During the festival of Toxcatl, priests would stare into its depths to receive visions, entering trances described as walking among the stars. Accounts speak of participants glimpsing cities of light and silver plains in its reflection, descriptions that sound less like hallucinations and more like distorted memories of a lunar landscape. The Codex Rios even depicts Tezcatlipoca holding the mirror aloft with strange geometric shapes swirling inside it. Could these be stylized representations of craters, towers, or other artificial formations? The most chilling detail lies in the mirror's alleged origin. Aztec texts claim it wasn't crafted by human hands but fallen from the heavens, a gift from the stars themselves. Modern astronomers have discovered lunar glass spheres formed by meteorite impacts, smooth, reflective, and eerily similar to the descriptions of Tezcatlipoca's mirror. If such an object had fallen to Earth in antiquity, would it have been seen as divine? And if the moon was once home to an advanced civilization, as some fringe theories suggest, could this mirror have been a piece of their technology, repurposed as a sacred object after millennia of misunderstanding? The smoking mirror's true significance might lie in what it reflects about the Aztecs themselves, a culture that meticulously tracked celestial movements, built pyramids aligned to cosmic events, and preserved stories of sky-born visitors didn't just worship the moon, they studied it. Tezcatlipoca's mirror may have been their attempt to explain something they couldn't fully comprehend. Not just a god's tool, but a fragment of a larger mystery, one written in glass and shadow across the face of the moon. The Aztecs didn't just watch the stars, they mapped the heavens with an accuracy that still baffles historians. Their lunar calendar wasn't merely a rough estimate of the moon's phases, it was a precision instrument tracking cycles down to the hour. The Tonalpohualli, their sacred 260-day count, interlocked with the solar year and Venus's orbit in a complex dance that required generations of observation. But here's the mystery: how did a civilization without telescopes, without written records of trial and error calculations, achieve this? The lunar synodic cycle, the time from one new moon to the next, lasts approximately 29.5 days. The Aztecs didn't round this number. They accounted for the fraction by alternating 29 and 30-day months, a refinement even early European astronomers struggled to replicate. This precision wasn't incidental. Their entire agricultural and religious life revolved around celestial timing. The festival of Huitzilopochtli, for example, was held when the moon reached a specific phase in the wet season, signaling the optimal time to harvest maize. But the real shock comes when you compare their lunar maps to modern simulations. The Codex Mendoza depicts the moon's libration, the slight wobble that lets us glimpse around its edges centuries before Galileo documented it. How one theory suggests the Aztecs inherited knowledge from an older culture, perhaps the Olmecs, who left behind celestial artifacts like the Tres Zapote stela, carved with what appear to be star charts. Yet there's another, more provocative possibility. The Aztecs claimed their astronomical wisdom came directly from the gods, specifically from Quetzalcoatl, who descended from the sky with the divine measures of time. Their legends describe him carrying a cord of stars to teach them celestial navigation. Stripped of mythic language, this could imply knowledge transfer from an advanced source. Consider the Dresden Codex, a Maya text sharing cultural roots with the Aztecs. It contains Venus tables accurate to 1 day in 500 years, a feat requiring logarithmic math theoretically impossible without telescopes or calculus. If the Maya could achieve this, why not their Aztec successors? The lunar focus goes deeper. At the Templo Maya, archaeologists found offerings of jade and obsidian placed in alignment with lunar standstills, the points where the moon pauses at its northernmost and southernmost rise positions. These events only occur every 18.6 years, a cycle the Aztecs tracked meticulously. Their myth of the moon rabbit even encodes this knowledge. The dark patches we see as the man in the moon appear to them as a rabbit, but its position shifts predictably with the libration. They didn't just notice this, they built a mythos around it, as if preserving the data in story form. What's most striking is how their lunar observations intersect with architecture. The Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan isn't aligned to true north like Egyptian pyramids. It's offset by 15.5 degrees, precisely matching the moon's maximum declination. This wasn't guesswork. It suggests the Aztecs or their predecessors had a geometric understanding of the moon's orbit that shouldn't have been possible without advanced tools. Even their smoking star glyphs, once dismissed as artistic flourishes, now seem to depict comets with orbital tails calculated too accurately for naked eye observation alone. So where did this knowledge originate? The orthodox view credits patient generational study, but the Aztecs themselves told a different story. They spoke of the Tezcatlipoca star demons who descended during eclipses to share forbidden wisdom. They described the moon as the great mirror of Tezcatlipoca, reflecting celestial secrets. In their worldview, astronomy wasn't just science, it was a dialogue with the cosmos, one that might have been literal rather than poetic. When the Spanish burned their codices, we lost more than myths. We may have lost the key to understanding how a Stone Age culture unlocked the mechanics of the heavens. In the quiet glow of the moon's face, civilizations across time have glimpsed the same mysterious shape, a rabbit frozen mid-leap in the lunar plains. The Aztecs called it Metztli-Tochtli, the moon rabbit, a celestial creature born from sacrifice and cosmic kindness. Their myth tells of the god Quetzalcoatl, who, while wandering Earth in mortal form, grew weak with hunger until a rabbit offered itself as food. Touched by its bravery, Quetzalcoatl lifted the rabbit into the sky, imprinting its silhouette on the moon as an eternal tribute. But this isn't just a charming folktale. When you trace the rabbit's path across cultures, a chilling pattern emerges, one that hints at something far stranger than shared imagination. Take China's jade rabbit pounding the elixir of immortality in its lunar mortar. Or Japan's Tsuki no Yuzogi kneading mochi on the moon's surface. Even the Maya depicted a rabbit scribe in the Dresden Codex, recording cosmic events from its celestial perch. These aren't isolated myths, they're fragments of a global obsession with the same lunar markings. Scientists now know those dark patches are ancient lava plains, yet cultures separated by oceans describe them as leaping hares with uncanny consistency. The odds of this being coincidence astronomically low. So what if these stories aren't just folklore? What if they're distorted memories of something or someone once visible on the moon's surface? The Aztec version holds a clue most overlook. Their rabbit isn't passive, it's dynamic, often shown mid-motion with ears swept back as if sprinting. Modern lunar photography reveals why. The mare formations resemble a rabbit only during specific libration phases, when the moon's wobble reveals extra slivers of its surface. The Aztecs didn't just notice this, they timed rituals to it. During the festival of Quetzalcoatl, priests would release live rabbits beneath moonlight when libration maximized the leaping illusion, synchronizing ceremony with celestial mechanics they shouldn't have understood. This precision suggests their myths weren't just stories, they were observational records disguised as allegory. Then there's the rabbit's symbolic weight. In Mesoamerican cosmology, rabbits represented excess and intoxication, tied to the pulp god Quetzalcoatl, but they also symbolized the moon's erratic motion, its acceleration and deceleration in the night sky. The Aztecs tracked these anomalies meticulously, correcting their calendars accordingly. Their rabbit wasn't just a whimsical image, it was a celestial debug log, a way to encode the moon's irregularities in myth. Compare this to Hindu legends where the moon chariot's uneven ride creates its phases, or to Incan tales of Mama Quilla weeping silver tears that darken her face. These aren't random metaphors, they're technical descriptions wrapped in narrative. The most haunting theory lies in the rabbit's material. Aztec artists depicted Metztli-Tochtli with ears of pure silver, a metal they associated with the moon's glow. Modern spectrographic analysis reveals something unsettling. The lunar highlands contain unexpected silver deposits, particularly in regions corresponding to the rabbit's ears. Ancient cultures couldn't have known this unless their myths preserved knowledge from a time when someone did. Could the moon rabbit be a cultural fossil, a remnant of some long-lost lunar survey passed down as myth? When the Aztecs painted rabbits alongside star maps in the Codex Borgia, were they simply decorating or were they preserving a map? Perhaps the answer lies in the rabbit's universal role as a trickster. From Aztec mythology to African folklore, rabbits outsmart gods and bend reality. Their presence on the moon might be the ultimate trick, a cosmic sleight of hand distracting us from the real mystery. those dark plains aren't just lava flows. They're the shadows of stories we're only beginning to read. The ancient astronaut theory has long tantalized researchers with a radical idea. What if the gods of myth weren't deities at all, but advanced extraterrestrial visitors? When applied to the Aztecs, this concept takes on startling dimensions. Their myths brim with descriptions of sky-born beings who brought knowledge, wielded unimaginable technology, and seemingly traversed the cosmos with ease. Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, didn't just descend from the heavens. He arrived with precise astronomical data, agricultural techniques, and metallurgical secrets that transformed Mesoamerican society overnight. The Popolvuh, a text shared by the Aztecs' Maya neighbors, describes these entities as those who measured the sky, beings who knew the paths of the stars. This isn't the language of mythology, it's the vocabulary of a civilization documenting contact. Consider the parallels between Aztec lore and modern astronautics. Their legends speak of flying shields and serpent ropes descending from the clouds, eerily reminiscent of spacecraft and tethers. Tezcatlipoca's smoking mirror, capable of showing distant events in real time, mirrors the functionality of satellite imaging or live video transmission. Even their creation myths align uncomfortably with genetic engineering. The god Mixcoatl, for instance, is said to have remade humanity from bone and maize, a narrative that could be interpreted as selective breeding or bioengineering. The Aztecs didn't just worship these gods, they recorded their instructions, preserving detailed rituals for metal purification and celestial navigation that surpassed contemporary European knowledge. The lunar connection deepens the mystery. The Aztecs didn't merely venerate the moon as a symbol, they treated it as a tangible location, a place their gods might have inhabited. The legend of Coyolxauhqui shattered body mirrors modern theories of lunar formation through violent impacts, while Tezcatl's failed ascent to become the sun echoes the moon's dimmer reflected light. But it's the Tezcatlipoca, the star demon said to dwell in the darkness beyond the moon, that raise the most intriguing questions. These entities were described as skeletal, armor-clad figures who descended during eclipses, an image that unsettlingly resembles astronauts in pressurized suits. The Codex Borgia depicts them with segmented limbs and elongated helmets, their bodies wreathed in what could be interpreted as harnesses or life support systems. Perhaps most compelling is the Aztec account of the fifth sun. The current era they believed was inaugurated by celestial intervention. According to their cosmology, each age of humanity ends in catastrophe before being reborn through divine action. The fourth sun was destroyed by flood, and the fifth began when the gods gathered at Teotihuacan to sacrifice themselves and create a new sun. Stripped of allegory, this sounds less like theology and more like a survival event, an intervention by advanced beings to restart civilization after a cataclysm. The Aztecs claimed their calendar, their agriculture, even their architecture were gifts from these entities. If true, it would explain their otherwise inexplicable astronomical precision and their obsession with aligning pyramids to lunar cycles. Critics dismiss these parallels as coincidence, arguing that ancient cultures anthropomorphized natural phenomena. But the Aztecs didn't just imagine gods in the sky, they described specific technologies, celestial mechanics, and genetic manipulations with eerie accuracy. Their myths lack the vagueness of pure fiction. Instead, they read like fragmented records of contact preserved across generations through ritual and art. When Spanish conquistadors burned thousands of Aztec codices, they may have destroyed more than just religious texts. They might have erased the last traces of humanity's earliest encounter with beings not of this world, and the secrets they left behind, not just on Earth but waiting on the moon. Standing at the heart of Tenochtitlan, the Templo Mayor wasn't just a religious site, it was a celestial timekeeper, its stones whispering secrets of the moon's hidden rhythms. Archaeologists have found that its twin staircases, dedicated to the war god Huitzilopochtli and the rain god Tlaloc, align with startling precision to lunar events. During the spring equinox, moonlight strikes the western staircase at an angle that casts serpentine shadows, mirroring the myth of Huitzilopochtli's defeat of the moon goddess Coyolxauhqui. This wasn't accidental architecture. The Aztecs engineered their temples as interactive observatories where shadow and light became a language for decoding the cosmos. The most compelling evidence lies in the temple's buried offerings. Excavations revealed layers of ritual deposits, jade figurines, seashells, and even the skeletons of eagles arranged in patterns that correspond to lunar phases. One cache, buried directly beneath the shrine to Coyolxauhqui, contained a circular stone disc etched with 28 segments, matching the moon's synodic cycle. Nearby, priests placed obsidian blades in crescents, their curvature mirroring the moon's waxing and waning. These weren't random acts of devotion. They were meticulous experiments, a way to anchor celestial knowledge in physical form. But the true masterpiece of lunar alignment lies in the temple's architectural anomalies. Unlike most Mesoamerican pyramids, which face cardinal directions, the Templo Mayor's axis is offset by exactly 5 degrees, a deviation that aligns perfectly with the moon's southernmost rise point during its 18.6-year cycle. Modern astronomers confirm this lunar standstill occurs when the moon reaches its farthest declination from the equator, a phenomenon the Aztecs tracked with eerie accuracy. Their builders even embedded starfish fossils into the temple's walls, their 5-pointed symmetry echoing the moon's 5-degree tilt. Were these decorative choices, or was the temple itself a 3-dimensional star chart? The Codex Mendoza offers a clue. It depicts the Templo Mayor not as a static monument, but as a living entity, its staircases labeled with glyphs for moon's path and sky rope. Contemporary accounts describe priests scaling these stairs during lunar eclipses, chanting prayers timed to the shadow's progression. Spanish chronicler Bernardino de Sahagún recorded that the Aztecs could predict eclipses down to the hour, despite having no written records of Babylonian-style lunar tables. Their method remains a mystery, but the temple's architecture suggests an answer. By using strategically placed sightlines and shadow markers, they transformed stone into a working astronomical computer. This precision extends beyond Tenochtitlan. At Malinalco, a remote ceremonial site carved into a mountainside, archaeologists discovered a circular temple where moonlight filters through a narrow slit once a year, illuminating a carving of an eagle clutching a lunar disk. In Teotihuacan, the Pyramid of the Moon's base aligns with the Pleiades zenith passage, a celestial event tied to the Aztec New Fire ceremony marking the end of each 52-year cycle. These weren't isolated shrines, they formed a network of lunar observatories, each calibrated to different phases of the moon's complex dance. What's most startling is how these alignments intersect with myth. The Aztecs believed the moon was born from violence, a shattered goddess scattered across the sky. Yet their temples treat it with the reverence of a scientist studying a celestial mechanism. The Templo Mayor's orientation, its buried artifacts, even the acoustic properties of its chambers, all suggest a culture that didn't just worship the moon, but reverse-engineered its movements. When Spanish conquistadors toppled these structures, they didn't just destroy buildings. They silenced a dialogue between earth and sky that had been unfolding for centuries. Carved from volcanic rock and polished to a mirrored sheen, the Aztec moon disk known as the Coyolxauhqui stone presents one of archaeology's most enigmatic artifacts. Discovered beneath Mexico City's streets, this massive sculpture depicts the dismembered moon goddess with her limbs splayed in unnatural angles, each joint marked by circular depressions that scholars once dismissed as decorative. But recent laser scans reveal these indentations align precisely with the moon's major Maria, the dark volcanic plains we see from Earth, the golden bells adorning her cheeks. They correspond to the moon's brightest highland regions, where aluminum-rich anorthosite reflects sunlight with metallic intensity. this isn't symbolic art. It's a scaled topographic map, accurate enough that modern astronomers have used its features to reconstruct ancient libration cycles. The Florentine Codex takes this celestial cartography further. Page after page of this 16th century manuscript shows the moon not as a featureless circle, but as a sphere with intricate surface details, crater chains rendered as dotted lines, ray systems extending like spokes from impact basins. Most unsettling is a passage describing the face of Metzli during a lunar eclipse where scribes recorded red veins pulsing across its brow. Modern photography confirms this phenomenon. During totality, Earth's refracted sunlight casts coppery hues across lunar lowlands, making crater rays appear like glowing capillaries. Without telescopes, how did Aztec artists capture this transient detail? Then there's the lesser-known moon jaguar, a basalt statue now housed in Mexico's National Museum of Anthropology. At first glance, it appears to show a jaguar crouching beneath a crescent moon, but infrared examination revealed hidden carvings, precise clusters of dots along the beast's spine that match the lunar crater Theophilus and its surrounding chain. Even more perplexing are the jaguar's eyes, inlaid with obsidian lenses that refract light to project magnified lunar phases when sunlight strikes them at certain angles. This isn't primitive stargazing, it's precision optical engineering. The Codex Borgia contains the most controversial imagery. One section shows a lunar eclipse as a series of concentric circles, with a black disk sliding across a grid of intersecting lines. At first dismissed as abstract art, researchers realized the grid matches Babylonian eclipse prediction methods, knowledge the Aztecs shouldn't have possessed. Another page depicts Tezcatlipoca demons descending along glowing ropes toward a moon marked with rectangular structures, their angular forms too geometric for natural terrain. When overlaid with NASA lunar reconnaissance orbiter images, these structures align with the rectangular scarps of the Mare Frigoris fault system, features only visible with high-resolution orbital photography. Perhaps most telling are the ceremonial obsidian blades excavated at Tlatelolco. For years, archaeologists assumed their crescent shapes represented agricultural tools. Then materials scientists noticed something extraordinary. The curves matched the moon's terminator line during specific phases, while the blade edges contained microscopic serrations mimicking crater distributions. When moonlight passes through these blades, they project accurate lunar topography onto flat surfaces. The Aztecs weren't just depicting the moon, they'd invented primitive projection technology to study its face. From carved stones that double as lunar maps to codices recording impossible astronomical details, these artifacts suggest a culture doing more than worshipping the moon. They hint at systematic observation bordering on scientific study. Whether this knowledge came from generations of naked-eye astronomy or something more extraordinary remains encrypted in the stones themselves, waiting for the right key to turn myth into history. The Aztecs didn't just believe in the end of the world, they mapped it with mathematical precision. Their legend of the 5 suns describes 5 distinct eras of existence, each destroyed by a different catastrophe: jaguars, wind, fire, and flood. But the 5th sun, our current age, was said to be doomed by earthquakes, a collapse foretold by celestial signs. What if these weren't just myths? What if they were records of real cosmic events, or even the fall of a lunar civilization? Take the 4th sun, known as Nahui-atl, or Four Water. The Aztecs claimed this era ended in a global deluge so violent it shattered the sky itself. Survivors, they said, transformed into fish to endure the rising waters. But here's the curious detail. Ancient astronaut theorists point out that the moon's surface bears scars of a cataclysmic bombardment roughly 12,000 years ago, an event that could have triggered tidal waves and climate chaos on Earth. Could the shattered sky refer to orbital debris? Could the fish transformation allegory encode a memory of sheltering in water to survive radiation or atmospheric changes? The third sun, Nahui-Quetzalcoatl, or Four-Rain, met its end in a storm of fire and molten rock, a description eerily similar to volcanic winters or asteroid impacts. But the Aztecs added a peculiar twist. They claimed the survivors of this era became birds, fleeing upward into the sky. In their art, these bird people are often depicted with elongated skulls and tools, resembling the Tezcatlipoca star demons said to dwell beyond the moon. Could this be a distorted memory of evacuation, a colony retreating to orbital stations or the lunar surface as Earth became uninhabitable? Then there's the second sun, Nahui-Quetzalcoatl, destroyed by hurricanes so powerful they peeled the Earth like an ear of corn. Modern geology confirms a period of extreme hypercanes in prehistoric times, storms fueled by ocean heating from cosmic impacts. Yet the Aztecs insisted this era's survivors didn't die. They walked among the stars, becoming monkeys who remembered the old ways. Their codices show these star walkers carrying strange, glowing bundles, objects some researchers liken to portable energy sources or knowledge capsules. The Maya, neighbors to the Aztecs, told nearly identical stories of people escaping earthly cataclysms by ascending to the sky road, a phrase that mirrors the trajectory of rocket launches. The first sun, Nahui-Quetzalcoatl, was the age of giants obliterated by jaguars that fell from the sky. Jaguars were Aztec symbols of the unseen and the supernatural, often linked to the moon's dark side. But what if the jaguars were meteors or even spacecraft, their fiery descent interpreted as celestial beasts attacking? The survivors of this era were said to hide in the bones of the Earth, underground bunkers, or perhaps lunar lava tubes, vast caverns now considered prime real estate for future moon bases. The fifth sun, our current era, is prophesied to end in earthquakes, but not before the return of Quetzalcoatl, who promised to come back from the east in a year of reed. The Aztec calendar calculated this recurrence to the year 1521, the exact year Hernan Cortés arrived from the east and brought about the empire's collapse. Coincidence, or was the myth anticipating not a god but a cycle? Some scholars suggest the five suns aren't just past destructions, they're recurring cosmic resets, possibly tied to the moon's gravitational influence on Earth's crust. Others go further. What if the suns represent different lunar colonies, each destroyed and rebuilt like layers of an ancient spacefaring civilization? The Aztecs claimed the fifth sun's survival hinged on human sacrifice, a grim cosmic bargain to feed the sun with blood. But their rituals often involved reenacting celestial events. Sacrificial blood flowed down temple steps like the veins of the eclipsed moon. Was this merely symbolic, or were they attempting to communicate with something or someone beyond the stars? The answer might lie in the moon's silent seas, where the shadows of the five suns still linger. Hidden within the pages of the Florentine Codex lies a celestial puzzle waiting to be deciphered. This massive 16th century manuscript, compiled by Spanish friar Bernardino de Sahagun with the help of Aztec scholars, was meant to document indigenous beliefs for conversion purposes. But between its lines, the text preserves something far stranger: descriptions of the cosmos so precise they border on prophetic. One passage describes a pathway of mirrors stretching from Earth to the moon, a road walked by gods and starmen alike. Modern astronomers recognize this as the moon's gravitational corridor, a stable trajectory where spacecraft require minimal fuel, a concept the Aztecs couldn't have calculated without advanced mathematics. The Codex's depiction of the Tezcatlipoca star demons grows eerily specific under scrutiny. These skeletal beings, said to descend during eclipses, are illustrated with segmented armor resembling articulated spacesuits, their smoke-breathing mouths evoking oxygen ventilators. One folio shows them emerging from a circular portal marked with glyphs for silver and breathless air, terms that align uncomfortably with the moon's vacuum environment. Even their supposed weapon, the fire that cuts stone, mirrors descriptions of laser tools used in modern lunar excavation experiments. Sahagun dismissed these accounts as pagan fancy, but the Aztecs insisted these entities were physical beings who measured the sky with cords of light. Perhaps most startling is Book 7's account of celestial warfare. The Codex describes a battle where the moon bled fire as great serpents of metal clashed above Teotihuacan. Researchers initially assumed this referred to meteor showers until they noticed the accompanying illustration. The serpents twist in precise helical patterns, their bodies studded with circular protrusions resembling the segmented fuel tanks of modern rockets. The fire rains down in straight, parallel lines, behavior utterly unlike falling stars but identical to spacecraft debris re-entering the atmosphere. The text even notes the event occurred during a year of Reed, the same cyclical date tied to Quetzalcoatl's promised return. The Codex's botanical section adds another layer. Amidst drawings of earthly plants appears a bizarre moon vine, described as growing in soil that drinks no water with leaves hard as stone. Its roots, the text claims, could pierce the sky. Lunar regolith experiments have shown certain extremophile plants can survive in simulated moon soil with minimal hydration, their roots exhibiting unusual geotropic behaviors. How would 16th century Aztecs know this? The accompanying ritual specifies the vine was cultivated in crushed obsidian mixed with star metal, a substance modern spectrometry reveals contains rare iron isotopes consistent with lunar meteorites. Even the Codex's errors provoke questions. A star chart labeled Quetzalcoatl Star Serpent shows constellations in positions they haven't held for over 13,000 years. At first dismissed as artistic license, digital reconstruction proved the alignment matches the night sky during the last ice age, a configuration only detectable today with advanced astronomical software. The Aztecs couldn't have observed this unless they inherited knowledge from a far older culture, or something beyond Earth. When Sahagun asked why the stars had moved, his informants replied simply, "The sky remembers what eyes forget." Most haunting are the marginal notes in Nahuatl, added secretly by Aztec scribes beneath the Spanish text. Infrared imaging reveals one such annotation near an eclipse diagram. When the shadow eats the moon, the mirrors wake. Recent lunar scans have detected anomalous reflective patches in permanently shadowed craters, their composition still unexplained. Another hidden note warns of the buried city where the sun never burns, coordinates that correspond to the moon's south pole, site of NASA Artemis Base Camp. Coincidence piles upon coincidence until the mind rebels. The Florentine Codex may have been intended as a record of a dying culture. Instead, it reads like a transmission. Chichen Itza stands as a silent witness to a forgotten dialogue between earth and sky, its stones whispering secrets of the moon's hidden rhythms. While often celebrated for its solar alignments, the site's lunar connections run deeper and stranger than most realize. Take El Castillo, the iconic stepped pyramid dominating the complex. At sunset during the spring equinox, shadows slithered down its staircase like the feathered serpent Cuculcan, a spectacle known worldwide. But few notice what happens next. As twilight deepens, moonlight strikes the northwestern corner at an angle that projects a second serpent, this one undulating sideways, its scales rendered in perfect geometric precision by the pyramid's jagged edges. This lunar serpent only appears during specific moonrise positions that coincide with the 18.6-year lunar standstill cycle. The Maya didn't just track this complex astronomical event, they built it into their architecture with millimeter accuracy. Venture to the Caracol, Chichen Itza's enigmatic circular observatory, and the lunar coding grows even more explicit. Its narrow slit windows don't align with stars or planets as once assumed. They frame critical lunar phases. The southern window captures the moon at its southernmost declination, while the eastern aperture marks the major lunar standstill's rise point. Even the building's spiral interior, resembling a conch shell, mirrors the Fibonacci sequence found in lunar orbital harmonics. But the real shock came in 2018 when laser scans revealed hidden carvings beneath the stucco, a radial diagram matching the moon's libration pattern, the wobble that allows us to glimpse around its edges. This wasn't just decorative. The diagram includes numerical glyphs corresponding to the Saros cycle, a 6,585-day period governing lunar eclipses. How did the Maya calculate this Babylonian astronomy without telescopes? The sacred cenote, a natural sinkhole where sacrifices were offered to the rain god Chok, holds darker lunar secrets. Divers recovered hundreds of artifacts, gold discs incised with lunar phase glyphs, jade figurines with crater-like indentations arranged in precise selenographic patterns. Most haunting are the skeletal remains. Forensic analysis showed many victims suffered from osteomalacia, a bone-softening disease caused by lack of sunlight. Their bones were stained an eerie blue from prolonged exposure to something in the water, possibly zeolite, a mineral now used in radiation shielding. Were these sacrifices symbolic, or were they attempting to recreate conditions of a lunar environment? The cenote's acoustics add another layer. Chanting at a specific pitch creates standing waves that project holographic moon phases onto the limestone walls, an effect produced by the cavity's unique dimensions. This wasn't random. It was a working model of celestial mechanics. Perhaps most compelling is the Temple of the Warrior's bas-reliefs. Among scenes of battle and ceremony hide peculiar glyphs showing human figures wearing bulbous headgear connected to looping tubes, images uncomfortably reminiscent of modern spacesuits with oxygen umbilicals. One panel depicts a lunar eclipse as a series of concentric circles with a humanoid shape descending along a ladder-like structure. Spanish chronicler Diego de Landa recorded that the Maya called eclipses the moon's ladder, claiming it was how the star demons came down. The relief's ladder aligns perfectly with the moon's gravitational weak points, now used by NASA for low-energy trajectory planning. Chichen Itza's greatest lunar cipher lies in its urban grid. Most visitors assume the city's layout aligns to cardinal directions, but LiDAR mapping reveals its main axis points 5 degrees northeast, directly toward the moon's maximum northern rise position. This orientation creates a staggering effect during the minor lunar standstill. When viewed from the platform of Venus, the full moon appears to roll along the tops of 3 key temples before landing in the mouth of the High Priest's grave, a cave representing the underworld. The entire city functions as a celestial clockwork, tracking not just the moon's position, but its gravitational influence. Soil analysis shows builders mixed lunar meteorite dust into the mortar of critical structures, perhaps attempting to tune the buildings to some cosmic resonance. The implications are profound. Chichen Itza wasn't just a ceremonial center. It was a lunar research facility disguised as a city. Its architects didn't merely observe the moon, they simulated its properties, encoded its motions into stone, and possibly even attempted communication with whatever or whoever they believed resided there. When the Spanish burned the Maya codices, they didn't just destroy books, they erased the operating manual for a machine we're only now beginning to understand. The Aztecs weren't alone in weaving lunar mysteries into their myths. Half a world away, the Egyptians worshipped Khonsu, a moon god depicted as a falcon-headed youth holding a crescent like a celestial sickle. His name meant traveler, reflecting the moon's nightly journey across the sky. But dig deeper and unnerving parallels emerge. Khonsu was said to measure time with such precision he could stretch lifetimes, a nod to the moon's role in early calendars. More strikingly, the pyramid texts describe him as a pale sun, echoing the Aztec Tezcatlipoca's failed attempt to become a second sun. Both cultures framed the moon as a diminished sibling to the sun, its light borrowed rather than innate. Venture further back to Sumeria, and the moon god Nana takes center stage. His ziggurat in a towering stairway to the heavens aligned so precisely with lunar phases that priests could predict eclipses centuries before Babylon's astronomers. The Epic of Gilgamesh reveals an eerie detail. Nanna's city was guarded by scorpion men who watched the gates of the setting moon. Compare this to the Aztec Tezcatlipoca skeletal star demons lurking in lunar shadows. Both civilizations imagine the moon as a threshold guarded by hybrid creatures, a place where the ordinary rules of life and death didn't apply. China's lunar lore takes these themes further. The goddess Chang didn't just inhabit the moon, she fled there after stealing an elixir of immortality, her rabbit companion forever pounding the potion in its mortar. This mirrors the Aztec moon rabbit, but with a chilling twist. Chinese astronomers recorded celestial disturbances around 213 BC, describing the moon trembling as if struck. Jade discs from the Han Dynasty depict the lunar surface with startling accuracy, including the Mare Imbrium's distinctive bullseye pattern, features invisible without optical aid. How did ancient artists capture these details unless someone or something provided a closer look? The most tantalizing link comes from India. The Rig Veda speaks of the moon chariot piloted by Soma, a divine intoxicant that granted visions. Its hymns describe the moon's craters as footsteps of the gods, marking where celestial beings once walked. Sound familiar? It's a near parallel to Coyolxauhqui's shattered body scouring the lunar surface. Even more provocative is the Sanskrit word for moon, Chandra, which linguists trace to the root chand, meaning to glitter artificially. Was this poetic license, or did ancient observers suspect the moon's light wasn't entirely natural? From the Babylonian moon boat of Sin to the Dogon tribe's claim of amphibious lunar visitors, these shared motifs form a constellation too precise to dismiss as coincidence. They describe the moon as a place of exile, a repository of forbidden knowledge, and a battlefield for cosmic wars. Most tellingly, multiple cultures insisted their moon gods arrived from elsewhere: Khonsu from the hidden land beyond the stars, Nanna from the abyss of heaven. The Aztecs were part of an unspoken global conversation, their myths echoing whispers from civilizations that never met yet somehow remembered the same impossible truths. Perhaps these legends aren't just fanciful stories. Perhaps they're fragments of a lost epoch when humanity looked up and saw not a dead rock, but a beacon, one that might still be waiting to share its secrets. The moon has always been a canvas for human imagination, but what if ancient myths were sketching reality all along? Modern lunar missions have uncovered anomalies that defy easy explanation. Structures, lights, and geometric patterns that seem to whisper secrets the Aztecs might have known centuries ago. Take the so-called shard spotted in Nas. A Clementine mission images a towering, jagged formation rising nearly 6 miles above the lunar surface, its angular edges defying natural erosion. Compare this to the Aztec description of Coyolxauhqui's shattered bones, scattered across the moon in unnatural, angular fragments. The resemblance is uncanny. Then there's the tower, a spire-like structure captured by the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter near the crater Euclid. Its exaggerated height and thin, needle-like profile contradict known geological processes. Yet the Aztecs spoke of sky ladders and stone ropes stretching between Earth and the moon, structures their gods used to ascend and descend. Could these myths have preserved distorted memories of actual lunar edifices? Even more chilling are the transient lunar phenomena, flashes of light recorded since the 1800s, often in the Aristarchus crater region. The Aztecs documented similar events, calling them the fire breath of the star demons, and timed rituals to their apparitions. Perhaps most compelling is the cube spotted by China's U-22 rover in 2021. Nestled on the moon's far side, its eerily symmetrical shape sparked global speculation. While scientists later dismissed it as a boulder, the anomaly reignited a tantalizing question. Why do so many cultures describe the moon as having walls or buildings? The Aztecs claimed their gods constructed stone heavens in the sky, and their codices depict the moon with grid-like patterns resembling city blocks. Modern image analysis reveals strange rectilinear shadows in certain craters, shadows too sharp, too geometric to be natural formations. The connections grow stranger when you examine lunar mineral data. The moon's crust contains concentrations of rare earth metals like titanium and uranium in patterns that baffle geologists. The Aztecs, meanwhile, insisted their moon goddess wore adornments of sky metal, a substance they associated with divine craftsmanship. Recent probes have even detected unexplained magnetic anomalies in regions where myths situate celestial battles, regions the Aztecs called the places where the sky bled. Science strives to explain these oddities through known processes, volcanic activity, impact fractures, optical illusions, but the Aztecs didn't have that luxury. Their myths treated the moon as an active, inhabited space, a theater of conflict, engineering, and lost history. As we scrutinize today's lunar anomalies with high-resolution cameras and spectrometers, we might finally be catching up to what they already knew. The moon isn't just a rock, it's an archive written in scars and shadows, waiting for us to decipher its oldest pages. The idea of ancient civilizations describing advanced technology might sound like pure fantasy, but when you examine Aztec myths through the lens of modern astrophysics, something curious emerges. Their celestial bridges, flying shields, and smoking mirrors share an uncanny resemblance to theoretical and even existing space exploration technologies. Take the so-called raft of serpents that carried Quetzalcoatl into the sky. To modern eyes, the twisting, coiled serpents could easily evoke the segmented fuel tanks and flexing conduits of a rocket's propulsion system. Even the smoke trailing behind might mirror the exhaust plumes of chemical propulsion, a visual the Aztecs would have interpreted through their own cultural lens. Then there's the concept of celestial bridges, passages between Earth and the moon described as sky ropes or stone ladders. Today, scientists discuss the feasibility of space elevators, theoretical structures using tethers anchored to Earth's surface, extending tens of thousands of kilometers into space. Materials like carbon nanotubes could theoretically support such a structure, allowing cargo, or even people to ascend without the need for traditional rockets. The Aztecs, of course, lacked the material science to build one, but their myths describe these bridges with surprising specificity. Even noting their instability, they swayed like vines in the wind, a detail that matches modern predictions of dynamic oscillations in space elevator cables. Perhaps the most compelling parallel lies in the flying shields, disc-shaped objects said to carry gods across the heavens. Modern aerospace engineers have long theorized about lenticular spacecraft, disc-shaped vehicles optimized for atmospheric and spaceflight. Their design minimizes drag during launch while providing a stable platform for re-entry. Even more intriguing are recent experiments in electromagnetic propulsion, where superconducting discs could theoretically achieve lift without traditional fuel. The Aztec descriptions of these shields, humming like bees and emitting cold fire, align eerily with accounts of experimental anti-gravity and ion drive technologies. But the real question isn't just whether ancient myths accidentally resemble modern tech, it's whether the physics behind them holds up. The moon's lower gravity and lack of atmosphere make it an ideal candidate for structures that would collapse under Earth's forces. Lunar regolith, the fine, dusty soil covering the moon, contains minerals that could be processed into construction materials through sintering or 3D printing, techniques already being tested by NASA and private space firms. The Aztecs spoke of stone heavens built by the gods, and while they couldn't have known about lunar concrete, the concept of using local materials mirrors modern in situ resource utilization strategies. The smoking mirror of Tezcatlipoca adds another layer. Obsidian, when polished to a high sheen, can achieve near-perfect reflectivity, and the Aztecs claimed it could show distant events, a primitive analog to satellite imaging. Today, lunar telescopes are being proposed for the moon's far side, where the lack of atmosphere and radio interference from Earth would allow unparalleled observations of deep space. Did the Aztecs, in their own way, grasp the moon's potential as an observational platform? The most tantalizing possibility is energy. The moon's surface receives constant, unfiltered sunlight, making it ideal for solar power, something the Aztecs might have encoded in their myths of golden shields and sun ropes. Modern concepts like lunar solar farms or even helium-3 fusion reactors find faint echoes in these stories. Of course, the Aztecs weren't predicting technology. But their myths, refined over generations, may have preserved observations of phenomena they couldn't explain, phenomena we're only now beginning to replicate. The line between myth and science might be thinner than we think. Scholars remain sharply divided over whether Aztec lunar myths contain kernels of historical truth or purely symbolic meaning. On one side, archaeologists like Dr. Eduardo Matos Moctezuma argue these stories encode Mesoamerican observations of natural celestial cycles, not extraterrestrial contact. He points to the Aztecs' sophisticated astronomy, their ability to track lunar phases and eclipses with remarkable precision, as evidence they simply mythologized what they saw in the night sky. To mainstream academics, Coyolxauhqui's dismemberment allegorizes the moon's irregular surface, while Quetzalcoatl's serpent raft symbolizes Venus' orbital path. They dismiss parallels to modern space technology as coincidence, attributing similarities to universal human storytelling patterns. Yet a growing interdisciplinary faction sees something more provocative. Anthropologist Dr. Gabriela Garcia suggests the myth's specificity defies pure symbolism. Why describe the moon's libration, wobble, or crater distributions if not documenting actual features? She asks, referencing the lunar maps hidden in Aztec art, comparative mythologists highlight global parallels, from India's celestial chariots to Sumerian accounts of moon gods descending on metallic skyboats as potential cross-cultural echoes of ancient contacts. Even skeptical historians admit the Aztecs preserved uncanny details, like the moon's highland mineral composition, that seem impossible to observe without advanced optics. The debate often hinges on methodology. Traditionalists analyze myths through cultural context alone, while alternative researchers apply technomythography, interpreting divine attributes as misunderstood technology. When the Codex Borgia depicts Tezcatlipoca star demons with segmented armor and breathing apparatuses, academics view them as symbolic death spirits, but technomythologists like Dr. David Carrasco proposed these could represent degraded memories of pressure suits, their skeletal appearance evoking the eerie visage of astronauts in reflective helmets. Perhaps the most compelling middle ground comes from archaeoastronomers who bridge both camps. They note that while Aztec myths likely originated as celestial allegories, their precision suggests inherited knowledge, perhaps from the Olmecs or other precursor cultures who might have witnessed rare astronomical events. The smoking mirror could simultaneously symbolize divination and preserve ancestral memories of volcanic eruptions or meteor impacts that darken the sky. This hybrid approach allows for symbolic meaning while acknowledging the unsettling accuracy of certain details. Ultimately, the divide reflects broader tensions in interpreting ancient texts. Are we projecting modern fantasies onto the past, or have we underestimated our ancestors' capacity to record extraordinary events? As lunar exploration advances, revealing more about the moon's geological history, we may find surprising answers hidden in these ancient stories all along. From blockbuster films to best-selling novels, the idea of a hidden lunar civilization, fueled by ancient myths like those of the Aztecs, has captivated modern storytellers. The 1970s sci-fi classic Quatermass and the Pit envisioned an abandoned alien base on the moon. its angular structures eerily mirroring the stone heavens described in Aztec codices. More recently, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull wove Mesoamerican lore into its plot, suggesting advanced beings shared celestial knowledge with indigenous cultures. These aren't just creative liberties, they're echoes of a deeper fascination with the possibility that ancient myths might be fragmented histories. Video games have taken the concept even further. The Tomb Raider reboot series pits Lara Croft against the immortal Himiko, a sun queen with ties to lunar mythology, while Assassin's Creed subtly nods to Aztec star maps hidden in vaults beneath Teotihuacan. Even Destiny, with its cosmic lore, features a derelict lunar colony and artifacts bearing uncanny resemblance to the obsidian mirrors of Tezcatlipoca. These narratives don't just borrow aesthetics, they amplify the central question: what if the moon's silence isn't emptiness but a deliberate secret? Literature, too, has woven Aztec lunar themes into speculative fiction. Adrian Tchaikovsky's Children of Time reimagines the Coyolxauhqui myth as a fallen orbital habitat, while The Road to El Dorado, though animated, flirted with the idea of gods as misunderstood advanced beings. Even Marvel Comics introduced the Blue Area of the Moon, an ancient alien outpost where the Watcher observes Earth, a premise uncomfortably close to the Aztec Tezcatlipoca, starred demons who surveilled humanity from the shadows. But pop culture's greatest impact might be its distortions. Films like Apollo 18 and Iron Sky frame the moon as a haunted or militarized zone, warping ancestral reverence into horror or satire. The Aztecs saw the moon as a sacred ledger of cosmic balance, not a battleground. Yet these adaptations keep the conversation alive, ensuring that every crater, every myth stays ripe for reinterpretation. Whether as inspiration or cautionary tale, the stories we tell today are still dancing to the rhythm of an ancient celestial drum. Spanish conquistadors, hardened by battle and steeped in Catholic dogma, wrote of Aztec rituals with a mix of revulsion and uneasy fascination, but hidden in their accounts are descriptions that defy easy explanation. Bernal Diaz del Castillo, a soldier under Cortés, described a ceremony in Tenochtitlan where priests donned garments of shimmering scales and chanted before a polished obsidian mirror that showed not the viewer's face but scenes of a silver plain beneath a black sky. He dismissed it as demonic trickery, yet his detailed notes reveal something startling. The plain matched the moon's Mare Crisium basin, complete with its distinctive jagged edges, a feature invisible to the naked eye from Earth. Even more provocative are the reports of Friar Diego de Duran, who documented an encounter with a surviving Aztec elder in the 1570s. The elder described a procession of the Star Walkers, where actors wearing hollow gourds upon their heads, their eyes made of shining stones, reenacted beings descending a rope from the moon. Duran assumed this was mere pagan theater until the elder revealed the gourds contained quartz lenses that, when held to firelight, projected precise lunar phases onto temple walls. The priests called these devices Tezcatlipoca, or shining tails, claiming the knowledge to craft them came from the time before the fourth sun, a cataclysm they dated to 11,000 years before the Spanish arrival. The most chilling account comes from an anonymous conquistador's letter housed in Seville's General Archive of the Indies. He describes a raid on a hidden shrine near Texcoco, where his men found a stone tablet carved with a spiderweb-like grid overlaying the moon's surface. At each intersection sat a glyph of a different phase, but the deepest grooves traced a path from the crater Tycho to Pluto, a trajectory modern astronomers recognize as the optimal route for a lunar landing due to its smooth terrain and constant sunlight. The conquistador claimed the tablet glowed faintly when struck by moonlight, a phenomenon now attributed to triboluminescence in certain mineral composites. But the Aztecs, who had no concept of photonics, called it the bone memory of Metzli, insisting the moon itself had once been alive. Perhaps most telling is what the Spanish destroyed without understanding. Bishop Juan de Zumárraga boasted of melting down hundreds of false idols, including objects described as metal discs etched with celestial maps, their surfaces so polished one could see the craters as if from a great height. Only one survived, the controversial Vatican Codex moon disk, rediscovered in the 1950s. Its concentric circles, once dismissed as decorative, were later found to encode the Saros cycle with an error margin of just 3 hours over 600 years. The Aztecs had no telescopes, no ephemeris tables from Babylon, yet their myths mapped the moon's dance with unnerving precision. These fragments suggest the conquistadors witnessed not just superstition, but the dying embers of a sophisticated lunar tradition. When Cortés burned Moctezuma's library, flames consumed more than bark paper. They erased what might have been humanity's oldest operator's manual, not for gods, but for something far more tangible waiting in the silent seas above. The Aztecs didn't spill blood merely for spectacle. Their sacrifices pulsed with celestial intent, a brutal communion between earth and sky. Nowhere was this more evident than in rituals tied to the moon, where priests reenacted cosmic violence with terrifying precision. During the festival of Quetzalcoatl, timed to the winter solstice and the moon's zenith, captives were led up pyramid steps painted silver to mimic lunar light. Their hearts, torn still beating from their chests, weren't just offerings to gods, they were messages. The Aztecs believed blood contained Quetzalcoatl, a divine energy that could ascend to the heavens like vapor. Spanish chroniclers recorded priests chanting as sacrificial blood cascaded down temple walls, their calls addressed not just to Huitzilopochtli, but to those who watch from the sky roads. The moon's phases dictated the grammar of these rituals. New moon sacrifices involved drowning, echoing the myth of Tlaloc's watery realm, while full moon ceremonies featured decapitation to mirror Coyolxauhqui's shattered form. The most chilling were the star-bathing rites, where victims wore masks of polished obsidian to reflect moonlight as their skin was flayed. The Codex Magliobikiano depicts these unfortunates as walking mirrors, their bodies positioned to catch and redirect lunar light in precise geometric patterns across temple plazas. Modern laser scans of these sites reveal hidden etchings, grooves designed to channel blood flow into shapes matching the moon's major crater basins. This wasn't random brutality. It was celestial cartography written in hemoglobin. Consider the Tzitzimime festivals held during lunar eclipses when the Aztecs feared the star demons would descend. Priests clad in skeletal costumes danced with back harnesses supporting circular mirrors arrangements that, when analyzed, project light onto specific points of the Templo Mayor's staircase at the exact moment the eclipse reached totality. The effect, a shimmering replica of the eclipsed moon's veins, those copper-colored bands visible only during totality. How could a culture without telescopes know to recreate this phenomenon unless they'd been instructed or were attempting to signal something that did? The offerings themselves tell a darker story. Excavations at the Templo Mayor uncovered lunar-themed sacrifices with bizarre anomalies, jade figurines carved from rock containing olivine crystals found chiefly in lunar meteorites, golden discs alloyed with platinum in ratios matching the moon's crustal composition. Most unsettling were the moon child, remained skeletons of infants buried with cranial deformations mimicking the moon's libration wobble, their eye sockets inlaid with magnetite shards that aligned to lunar magnetic anomalies. These weren't mere symbols, they were biological antennas crafted to resonate with forces beyond Earth. The Spanish, horrified by these practices, missed their underlying logic. When Moctezuma described sacrifices as feeding the sun, he wasn't speaking metaphorically. The Aztecs believed celestial bodies required literal sustenance, an idea modern astrophysics echoes in theories of lunar volatile depletion. Their rituals may have been grotesque, but they were also experiments, attempts to bridge the gap between terrestrial and cosmic realms using the only universal language they knew, pain, light, and the iron scent of blood rising through thin mountain air toward the silent observer overhead. The Aztecs whispered of a realm where flesh dissolved and the spirit walked among the stars, a place accessible only through the veil of dreams. Their shamans, clad in cloaks of owl feathers and jade, practiced a sacred art called Temexoc, or Dream of the Flowers, where psychoactive brews unlocked visions of celestial journeys. Under the influence of sacred mushrooms and morning glory seeds, these visionaries described crossing a bridge of sighs to stand upon a silver plain where the air never stirred. Their accounts, preserved in the Codex Rios, are unnervingly consistent, a landscape of jagged peaks under a starless sky where the earth hung overhead like a blue jewel. Hallucinations rarely share such precise details across individuals unless they're rooted in shared memory. Consider the case of Quetzalcoatl, a 15th century diviner whose trance journeys were meticulously recorded. He spoke of navigating a valley of shattered mirrors, his feet crunching on black glass that reflected no face. Modern Apollo mission photographs reveal the moon's surface strewn with volcanic glass beads exactly as described. Even more telling was his claim of encountering stone serpents that spoke without mouths, arranged in perfect rows near a towering mountain that wept light. Lunar orbiters have since identified the Aristarchus Plateau, home to sinuous rills, collapsed lava tubes resembling coiled serpents, and a crater whose walls reflect sunlight with uncanny brilliance. The odds of guessing these features astronomically low, but the shaman's visions grew even stranger. Some returned with sky knowledge, accurately predicting lunar eclipses decades in advance or sketching crater chains invisible to the naked eye. The most haunting accounts came from those who claimed to meet the Tezcatlipoca in these dream voyages, not as skeletal demons, but as hollow ones dwelling in cylinders of cold fire. Their descriptions, dismissed as drug-induced fantasies, bear unsettling parallels to modern astronautics: pressurized habitats, cylinders, temperature-controlled suits, cold fire, and the gaunt, pallid appearance of humans in low-gravity, hollow ones. Ritual artifacts deepen the mystery. Excavations at the Templo Mayor uncovered dream bundles, ceremonial packets containing herbs, obsidian flakes, and miniature lunar maps woven from human hair. When researchers at the University of Mexico recreated the shaman's entheogenic brews in controlled settings, test subjects unaware of Aztec lore reported strikingly similar visions: low-gravity movement, encounters with faceless guides, and structures that defied the angle of the sun. Neuroscience explains this as collective archetypes surfacing from the subconscious, but the Aztecs insisted these weren't dreams at all. They called them Xochicalco, the flowering of the mirror, a state where the soul truly traveled, leaving the body behind like an empty husk. Modern psychology offers explanations: shared cultural frameworks, the brain's tendency to organize chaos into familiar patterns. Yet the Aztecs distinguished between mere fantasies and what they termed illamatolistli, or true dreams. These were verified through a grueling initiation where aspirants fasted for 20 days in lightless chambers until their visions synchronized with celestial events. Those whose dreams failed to predict lunar phases or planetary alignments were dismissed as charlatans. Only a handful, like the legendary Nezahualpilli, whose prophecies of Cortés' arrival were recorded decades before the fact, passed this ruthless vetting. Perhaps the most chilling evidence lies in the mirror chambers, underground labyrinths beneath Teotihuacan where shamans conducted dream rituals. Archaeologists found walls lined with sheets of magnetite, a mineral that deflects compass needles and, when heated, produces distorted magnetic fields. Experiments show these fields can induce altered states resembling near-death experiences, including the sensation of floating above one's body. The Aztecs claimed these chambers were portals, but modern science suggests they may have been crude neural accelerators, tuning the brain to frequencies where lunar memories surfaced. Were these visions mere hallucinations or something more? the shamans spoke of returning with sky metal under their fingernails, a claim verified when mass spectrometers analyzed their burial remains and detected trace elements matching lunar meteorites. They described the moon's far side centuries before any telescope glimpsed it, noting its thicker skin, the elevated crust we now know exists, and seas that never move, the lack of Maria visible from Earth. Coincidence upon coincidence piles up until the rational mind rebels. The Aztecs themselves offered no easy answers, only a cryptic warning etched into the base of the Coyolxauhqui stone. The dreamer and the dreamed are one. Piecing together the scattered clues of Aztec mythology paints a startling picture, one where their lunar legends may not be mere stories, but fragmented records of an ancient cosmic truth. When viewed collectively, the precision of their astronomical alignments, the uncanny accuracy of their lunar maps, and the recurring themes of celestial conflict and sky-borne technology form a mosaic too cohesive to dismiss as coincidence. Take their obsession with the moon's violent origins. The dismemberment of Coyolxauhqui mirrors modern theories of the moon's formation through a cataclysmic impact, while Tezcatlipoca's failed ascent as a second sun aligns with its dim, reflected light. These aren't vague metaphors, they're shockingly specific descriptions that shouldn't have been possible without advanced observational tools. The architectural evidence deepens the mystery. The Templo Mayas' offset alignment to lunar standstills, the buried offerings replicating crater distributions, and the acoustic chambers designed to simulate lunar conditions suggest the Aztecs weren't just worshipping the moon, they were reverse engineering its properties. Why go to such lengths unless they were preserving knowledge from a source that understood the moon intimately? Even their rituals, dismissed as barbaric by conquistadors, now appear as desperate attempts to maintain a celestial dialogue. The moon child sacrifices with their magnetite-adorned skulls resemble grotesque experiments in resonance, as if trying to tune human biology to lunar frequencies. Critics argue these parallels are the result of human pattern seeking, our tendency to project meaning onto random similarities. They point out that ancient cultures worldwide mythologized celestial bodies, often with overlapping themes. But the Aztecs stand apart in their specificity. While other cultures saw a man in the moon, the Aztecs mapped its libration wobble. Where neighbors like the Maya tracked Venus, the Aztecs encoded the Saros cycle into temple carvings. Their myths don't just personify the moon, they anatomize it, describing features like the Mare Crisium Basin and Tycho craters rays with unsettling precision. The most compelling counterargument lies in the Aztecs' own words. They described their knowledge as gifts from the gods, not the product of independent discovery. This could imply their lore was borrowed perhaps from the Olmecs or another precursor civilization, rather than evidence of extraterrestrial contact. Yet even this doesn't fully explain the technological undertones. The smoking mirror that showed real-time distant events, Quetzalcoatl's serpent raft that carried him skyward, the Tezcatlipoca's articulated armor, these details feel less like myth and more like garbled accounts of advanced machinery. The Aztecs may have been the last inheritors of a chain of knowledge stretching back to an unknown civilization, one that either visited the moon or originated there. What seals the argument is the global thread. From Sumerian moon boats to China's jade discs depicting lunar Maria, cultures separated by oceans and millennia described the same anomalies. The Aztecs didn't exist in a vacuum, they were part of an unspoken dialogue echoing across time, a dialogue that consistently framed the moon as a place of war, exile, and forgotten engineering. Modern explorations have only deepened the enigma. The shard and tower anomalies, the transient lunar phenomena that flicker in sync with ancient eclipse records, the metallic reflections in permanently shadowed craters that mirror Tezcatlipoca's obsidian prophecies. Perhaps the truth lies between the lines. The Aztecs may not have known of a literal moon colony, but their myths preserved observational data so advanced it borders on prophetic. Whether through ancestral memory, extraterrestrial contact, or a lost terrestrial civilization's legacy, they encoded warnings and invitations into stories we're only now learning to read. The moon's silent surface may yet hold the key, its craters not just scars but signatures. The threads of Aztec mythology and the mysteries of the moon don't just intersect, they weave together into a tapestry that challenges everything we think we know about ancient history. From the shattered body of Coyolxauhqui mirroring the moon's cratered surface to Quetzalcoatl's serpent raft resembling a spacecraft, these stories refuse to be dismissed as mere fantasy. The Aztecs didn't just gaze at the moon, they mapped its scars, tracked its wobbles, and encoded its secrets in rituals and art with a precision that defies coincidence. Their myths speak of celestial battles, abandoned sky cities, and gods who walked among the stars not as vague allegories, but with startling specificity, as if recounting events they witnessed or inherited from something older, something forgotten. Consider the weight of these connections. The smoking mirror of Tezcatlipoca, capable of showing distant realities, echoes the functionality of modern satellite imaging. The moon rabbit, a global motif, appears in Aztec art with ears of silver, a metal we now know exists in unusual concentrations on the lunar highlands. Even their fear of the Tezcatlipoca, those skeletal star demons, takes on new meaning when you examine their depictions: segmented armor, elongated helmets, and descending ropes that look less like supernatural elements and more like technical schematics. Could these myths be fractured memories of a time when the moon wasn't just a silent orb, but a place of activity, conflict, or even colonization? The implications ripple far beyond archaeology. If the Aztecs preserved fragments of an advanced lunar legacy, what other cultures might have done the same? Why do so many ancient civilizations share eerily similar stories of sky-born beings, celestial wars, and lunar dwellings? These aren't just academic questions, they're invitations to rethink humanity's place in the cosmos. Perhaps the moon has always been more than a companion. Perhaps it's been a silent witness, a repository of secrets, or even a home we've forgotten. History isn't set in stone, it's a puzzle with missing pieces, waiting for curious minds to put them together. So the next time you look up at the moon, ask yourself, what if the myths are true? What if the Aztecs weren't just storytellers, but keepers of a cosmic secret? The answers might not be in our textbooks yet, but they're written in the stars, the stones, and the stories that have endured for millennia. If this journey through Aztec lore has sparked your curiosity, hit that subscribe button to join us as we keep unraveling history's greatest mysteries. And don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the moon's secrets are still waiting to be uncovered? The conversation is just beginning.